Welcome back to AI Unraveled, your weekly strategic briefing on the business impact of artificial intelligence. It is the first week of February, 2026. The industry has gone nuclear. SpaceX has acquired xAI, creating a $1.25 trillion company with plans to launch data centers into space. Amazon and Alphabet have responded by committing nearly $400 billion combined to AI infrastructure this year alone. But the real war is happening in the code. OpenAI released a model that helped build itself, while Anthropic launched agent teams that collaborate to do your work. And the stock market is noticing. $300 billion was wiped off software stocks this week as investors realize that AI agents are coming for SaaS revenue. Also this week, Apple opens up CarPlay to ChatGPT, Maltbook leaks millions of API keys, and Sam Altman gets into a public fight over a Super Bowl ad. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Now, let's unravel the week.
Welcome back to the deep dive. And wow, buckle up. Seriously, check your safety harnesses, because we are diving into what might just be the single most expensive, chaotic, and transformative week in the history of the technology industry. I'm not exaggerating.
No, you're really not.
We are talking about the first week of February 2026.
It is certainly a week for the history books.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we look back at the timeline of the AI revolution, we're going to put a big red circle around these 7 days.
A big, bold, permanent marker circle.
Feb 1st to Feb 8th.
Mm.
The scale of the numbers we have to discuss today, it frankly defies logic. It's hard to even wrap your head around.
It really is. I mean, usually we come on here and talk about a new model release or maybe a billion-dollar acquisition, and that feels big.
That's a huge week, Norm.
Exactly. But this week, we are talking about a merger valued at $1.25 trillion.
Trillion, with a T.
We're talking about nearly $400 billion in infrastructure spending announced in the span of like 48 hours.
There's two companies.
And then, just to keep things balanced, a market crash that wiped out $300 billion in value from the software sector.
It's the definition of a paradigm shift happening in real time. We are seeing the entire board game being flipped over.
Oh, completely.
The rules of business, of capital allocation, of what makes a company valuable, it's all being rewritten right now, this week.
Exactly. So for everyone listening, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the headlines this week, you are not alone. Our mission today is to cut through that noise.
We're feeling it too.
We're going to unpack this trillion-dollar week and figure out what it actually means for you, whether you're an investor, a developer, or just someone trying to figure out why your stock portfolio looks so weird today.
Precisely. We need to connect these dots because they are all connected. This isn't just a series of random events.
Not at all. There is a thread running through all of this.
Okay.
So here is our roadmap for this deep dive. We're going to start with the big one, the absolute behemoth in the room, the SpaceX and xAI mega merger, rocket sound.
A literal moonshot. You couldn't write it.
Then we're going to look at the CapEx wars. Amazon and Alphabet are betting the absolute house on infrastructure, just blank checks.
Yeah, the spending is it's mind-boggling.
Then we get into the model wars, GPT 5.3 versus Claude Opus 4.6. The agents are here, and they're not just chatting anymore.
And that leads directly into our fourth segment, which is probably the scariest part for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
The SaaS market crash. Why investors are suddenly fleeing traditional software.
Right. What does it mean when the tools we use every day are suddenly seen as obsolete?
A very good question.
And finally, we'll wrap up with the wild west of culture and security bot farms, Super Bowl spats, and security breaches. It's a lot.
It's a whole lot.
So let's get right into it. Segment 1, the mega merger, going orbital.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this. SpaceX has acquired xAI. The headline number is just staggering. The combined entity is valued at $1.25 trillion.
$1.25 trillion.
This makes it the world's most valuable private company, surpassing, well, everything private. It's in a league of its own now.
It creates a titan, a private titan, which is a whole other conversation. But we have to look past the sticker shock. The interesting part here isn't the money, not really. It's the why.
The rationale.
The rationale. Why combine a rocket company with a chatbot company? On the surface, it seems like a bizarre conglomerate mashup, a solution in search of a problem.
Like something out of a 1980s corporate raider movie.
Right. But if you read the filing and you listen to what Musk has been saying, his rationale is fascinating. And it's terrifying.
It's the energy angle, right? That's the whole ball game here.
It is entirely about energy. We've known for a year, maybe two, that AI data centers are straining the power grid. We see stories about new data centers in Virginia or Arizona being delayed because there's just no more electricity to give them.
They're competing with housing developments for power.
They are. And Musk's argument is that this is just the beginning. The global electricity grid literally cannot handle the demand for the next generation of AI without causing massive environmental damage or, blackouts in local communities.
So his solution is leave Earth. Just pack it all up and go.
Orbital data centers.
Yeah.
That's the pitch. And it sounds like science fiction, but this is now the official corporate strategy of a trillion-dollar company.
And what does that actually mean?
It means SpaceX has filed an application with the FCC for 1 million satellites. 1 million.
That number just breaks my brain. We complain about the few thousand Starlink satellites up there now. 1 million satellites. What does that even look like?
It's a shell of computers around the planet. And these aren't just Starlink internet satellites. They're not just dumb relays. These are designed to be solar-powered orbital compute units.
So data centers in the sky.
Exactly. The idea is you have unlimited solar energy in space,
Yeah.
no clouds, no nighttime if you position them right in a constellation.
Constant 247 power.
And you have the vacuum of space for cooling, which is a huge, huge cost on Earth. Data centers spend fortunes on air conditioning. In space, cooling is theoretically free.
So you beam the data up, you run the model on these orbital GPUs, and you beam the answer down.
That's the vision. You bypass the terrestrial power grid entirely.
It sounds like science fiction. But when you look at the internal pressures these companies are facing, it starts to make a weird kind of sense. I saw that XAI is burning through $1 billion a month right now.
Yes, $1 billion a month. That's the reported cash burn. They are trying to compete with Google and OpenAI, who basically have infinite war chests backed by Microsoft and Google's search monopoly.
So XAI needs an edge. They can't just keep raising money forever.
They can't win a ground war.
Right.
They don't have the data center footprint. They don't have the existing enterprise relationships. So they need to change the game. This is their edge.
And for SpaceX, what's in it for them? I mean, they're the ones doing the acquiring.
Well, they need a payload for Starship, a real economic reason to launch that giant rocket over and over and over.
Right. Getting to Mars is a great mission, but it doesn't pay the bills.
Not in the short term.
Yeah.
They need a commercial driver for a high-frequency launch cadence. If they have to launch 1 million satellites, each weighing several tons, well, you need a lot of Starships.
It creates its own demand.
It's the ultimate flywheel. This merger is a high-stakes gamble on vertical integration. They want to own the power generation, the sun. They want to own the transport, the rockets. And they want to own the intelligence, the chips and models running on those satellites.
It's the ultimate full-stack approach, from the photon hitting the solar panel to the pixel on your screen.
It's audacious, but not everyone is buying it, right? I saw some comments from Amazon Web Services, AWS.
Yeah, that was pretty pointed.
Right? Matt Garman, the CEO of AWS. He's the guy running the biggest cloud provider on Earth. He threw a pretty big bucket of cold water on this.
He was asked about orbital data centers, and he said they are pretty far from reality.
Breathe out is executive speak for good luck with that.
Oh.
It's almost dismissive.
It's the polite way of saying this is a fantasy.
Exactly. And his point is valid. Let's be clear. The cost of launch is still massive, even with SpaceX's reuse capability. You have to lift tons and tons of delicate electronics out of our gravity well.
And there's a hardware shortage on the ground?
There's a huge hardware shortage. We don't have enough rockets in existence to get the necessary hardware up there to compete with a massive terrestrial data center in Virginia or Oregon. Not yet.
And then there are all the other problems. Latency, right? The speed of light is a hard limit.
The speed of light is a very stubborn thing. The round-trip time for data is a huge engineering challenge. Then you have radiation shielding for the chips in space. Cosmic rays can flip bits and corrupt calculations. Maintenance is another one. If a server rack fails in Virginia, a technician drives over and swaps it out.
If a satellite fails in orbit.
You have a very expensive piece of space junk. You can't just send someone up with a screwdriver.
So on one side, you have the established cloud giant, AWS, saying the physics and the economics don't work yet.
Stick to the ground. It's what we know. It's what works.
And on the other, you have Musk betting $1 trillion company that he can force the physics to work through sheer engineering will and capital.
And that is the story of the week. It's a clash of visions. It's a fundamental disagreement about where the future of computing lives.
Yeah.
Is the future of AI terrestrial, bound by our power grids and our cooling capacity? Or is it extraterrestrial?
And if you're an investor trying to figure out where to put your money for the next decade,
You have to decide if you believe in the Musk premium, that ability to brute force reality to do things everyone says is impossible, or if you stick with the terrestrial logistics and the proven business models of Amazon and Google. It's a huge fork in the road.
speaking of Amazon and Google, that segues perfectly into our next segment, the spending war. Because if SpaceX is looking to the stars, Amazon and Alphabet are digging in on the ground, and they are spending an absolute fortune to fortify their position.
The numbers here are just as eye-watering as the merger, maybe even more so because it's actual cash going out the door this year.
Let's start with Amazon. They announced their CapEx, their capital expenditure plan for 2026, $200 billion.
Just say that number again, 200 billion. It's hard to grasp.
And this is up from an estimated $125 billion the previous year. That is a massive, massive jump. That's a $75 billion increase year over year.
That increase alone is more than most Fortune 500 companies are worth.
And the market freaked out, right? I saw the stock tank 10% after hours when they dropped that news.
Wall Street is in shock. They have a very simple model.
Yeah.
Company makes money, company gives money to shareholders. They're looking at this and asking, where is the return on investment? Spending $200 billion in 1 year is incredibly risky. It crushes your margins.
But Andy Jassy, Amazon's CEO, was very defensive on the earnings call. He basically said, we have no choice.
He did. He cited the demand for AI, which is obviously number one. He talked about their custom chips, Trainium and Inferentia.
Right.
He mentioned robotics for their warehouses. And interestingly, he mentioned a LEO satellites.
Project Kuiper.
Project Kuiper, linking back to that orbital thing we just discussed. So even Amazon isn't ignoring space completely.
No, they can't afford to. They're hedging their bets. But the bulk of this cash, the vast majority of that $200 billion, is for data centers, servers, and securing power contracts. It's a ground war.
And then, not to be outdone, you have Alphabet, Google's parent company. A day or two later, they announced their numbers.
$175 billion to $185 billion in spending.
So between just these two companies, we're approaching $400 billion in 1 year.
It's larger than the GDP of many mid-sized nations. It's an unbelievable amount of money.
Is Sundar Pichai, Alphabet's CEO, he used the word necessary. He's saying this isn't a choice. This isn't some speculative bet. To drive growth in search and cloud, they have to build this infrastructure.
Okay.
If they stop, they lose the entire game.
It feels like a poker game where the blind is $1 billion. If you can't pay up, you fold. You're not even at the table anymore.
That's exactly it. And this spending frenzy is causing massive, massive bottlenecks everywhere else in the tech ecosystem. We're seeing what people are calling a chip squeeze.
Oh, this was a fascinating detail in the reports this week. AI companies are now outbidding Apple for manufacturing capacity at TSMC.
That is a huge signal, a tectonic shift. For a decade, Apple has been the king of the supply chain. They got first dibs on TSMC's best, most advanced chip manufacturing processes.
Yeah.
They would book the entire factory for years.
Because the iPhone volume was so huge?
Exactly. But now, NVIDIA and other AI chip designers, they're coming to TSMC with open checkbooks. They're willing to pay premiums that Apple simply won't match. They need the H100s and the B200s more than Apple needs the new M-series chip right this second.
So the demand for AI compute is so inelastic they can just outbid anyone.
It's pushing Apple to look for new partners, which is something we haven't seen in years.
I saw a note from analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, who is usually very reliable on Apple stuff, suggesting Apple might actually go to Intel.
It sounds wild, doesn't it, after years of Apple mocking Intel in their keynotes. But yes, the rumor is Apple might have Intel manufacture lower-end M7 chips in the USA by 2027.
As part of Intel's foundry services business.
Right. And speaking of Intel, their CEO, Lip-Bu Tan, announced they are going to start making GPUs to compete in the AI training space.
Intel entering the GPU war. That feels like they're late to the party, but maybe just in time if everyone else is sold out.
They see the opening. If TSMC is booked solid for the next 3 years by NVIDIA and AMD and a few others, there is a massive, desperate hunger for any compute capacity. Intel is pivoting its strategy to say, hey, we have factories, we can build these things. Maybe they're not the absolute best, but they're available.
So for an executive listening to this, someone running a non-trillion-dollar company, what's the takeaway?
It means the cost of doing business in AI is skyrocketing. It's a vertical takeoff. If you are a tech CEO, You are looking at these numbers and realizing that the barrier to entry for training your own frontier models is now in the hundreds of billions of dollars.
It's an arms race.
It is. And if you aren't spending that, you aren't a platform, you're a customer. You might be left behind, or you have to accept, strategically, that you will be renting intelligence from these giants forever.
You're either the landlord or the tenant, and the rent is going up fast.
Precisely. There is no middle ground anymore.
Okay, so they are building the data centers, they're launching the satellites, they're buying all the chips, but what are they actually running on this hardware?
That brings us to segment 3, the model wars. And folks, the chatbots are growing up.
They aren't just chatting anymore, they are acting. They are doing.
Let's talk about Anthropic first.
Yeah.
They launched Claude Opus 4.6, and the specs are, well, they're aggressive.
Very. The headline feature, the one everyone's talking about, is the 1 million token context window in beta.
Which means you can basically feed it an entire novel or a massive code base, and it can reason over the whole thing at once.
Exactly. It's huge for an Opus class model, their top tier one.
Yeah.
But the real story, I think, is the performance. It beats GPT 5.2 by 144 ELO points on the GDP Val AA benchmark.
And for those who don't follow this stuff daily, 144 ELO points is not a small margin.
No, that is a significant gap in the world of AI rankings. That's a decisive win. And it topped the humanities last exam benchmark too, which is that really hard multidisciplinary test. But what stood out to me wasn't just the raw smarts. It was this feature they announced called Agent Teams in Claude Code.
This is the shift. This is the thing we need to pay attention to. Agent Teams allows multiple AI agents to work in parallel on a single task.
So it's not just one AI doing everything.
Right. Imagine you're building a piece of software. One agent can act as the architect, planning the overall structure. Another one writes the tests. A third one is a security specialist, reviewing the code for vulnerabilities as it's written. They are collaborating, they can pass work back and forth.
So it's like managing a squad of junior developers rather than just asking one smart intern to do everything from start to finish.
That is the perfect analogy. It's moving from a question and answer dynamic to a task and execution dynamic. And this is all part of Anthropic differentiating its business model here too. They are sticking to ad-free. They're doubling down on being the enterprise tool. Reliable, private, no ads, no consumer shenanigans. They want to be the AI you trust with your corporate data.
Which is a direct shot at OpenAI, who seems to be taking a very different path. Let's talk about GPT 5.3-Codex.
OpenAI is all about speed and integration. Their new model, GPT 5.3-Codex, runs 25% faster, which is a big deal when you're using it interactively.
But the killer feature is that it is a self-building coding model. What does that even mean?
It means it can architect its own improvements to the code it writes as it writes it. It can recognize patterns, refactor its own work for efficiency, and learn from its mistakes within a single session. And importantly for developers, you can steer it mid-task.
Oh, that's huge.
The massive quality of life improvement. Previously, if a model started going down the wrong path, writing some crazy code, you'd had to stop it and restart the whole prompt.
And lose all that context.
And lose the context. Now, you can nudge it. You can say, no, use this library instead. Or that approach is too slow, and it adjusts on the fly without losing the thread of what it was doing.
But there's a bit of drama behind the scenes at OpenAI, isn't there? This release came with some internal shakeups.
There is. We're seeing a clear pivot. The reporting suggests that OpenAI is shifting resources heavily from research, the blue sky science, the fundamental breakthroughs, to product, making ChatGPT better right now, making it more useful for enterprise.
And that's causing some friction.
It's causing significant staff turnover. Teams working on Sora, their video model, and DALL-E, the image model, are reportedly feeling undervalued. Their projects are seen as less of a priority.
Because the money is in the enterprise agents. That's where the revenue is today.
Exactly. And to that end, OpenAI launched this new platform called Frontier. This is their big enterprise play. It allows agents to run software like Salesforce or Workday or SAP directly.
So instead of me logging in and clicking around in Salesforce to update a sales forecast,
you just tell the Frontier agent, in natural language, update the Q3 projections based on the new data from the marketing team, and it goes and clicks the buttons for me.
and it logs in, navigates the menus, fills out the forms, and logs out.
Yes. And that is the battlefield. It's about action. It's about automating workflows. And Google is right there too with their version, Gemini Screen Automation.
This one scared me a little, I'll be honest, when I read about it.
It has risks, major risks.
Yeah.
Google is developing a feature where Gemini can literally scroll and tap on your phone screen to do things, to book an Uber, to order food on DoorDash.
But the beta code that was found in the Google app explicitly warns users, you are responsible for mistakes.
That's a pretty big disclaimer. Sorry your pizza order turned into a purchase of 500 pizzas, you're responsible?
Or worse, it books a non-refundable first-class flight to the wrong city.
Exactly. And there's a serious privacy aspect here too. To train the model and fix bugs, human reviewers might see screenshots of what the agent is doing on your phone.
So if you have your banking app open or a private message,
A human reviewer at Google might see that. It's a huge potential privacy violation.
but despite the risks, the trend is undeniable. From all three major players, Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, we are moving from the era of the chatbot to the era of the agent. Software that does things.
And that transition software that does things is exactly what triggered the financial bloodbath we saw this week in the public markets.
Stock crash sound. Yeah, that sound is appropriate. Let's get into it. Segment 4, the market crash. $300 billion wiped from software and data stocks in a single day.
It was a brutal, brutal sell-off, a sea of red.
And the trigger was Anthropic again, something as simple as a product announcement.
It wasn't a bad earnings report or an economic downturn. Anthropic announced new specialized legal tools for its cowork assistant. Specific high-level capabilities like drafting complex contracts and doing discovery analysis.
And the market looked at companies like Thomson Reuters, which owns Westlaw, and LegalZoom.
Even the London Stock Exchange, which has a huge data analytics business, and they just hit the sell button. Hard.
They were all down more than 12% in a day. For those kinds of stable blue-chip stocks, that's a crash.
And it wasn't just them. The contagion spread. Private equity firms like Ares and KKR took a big hit because their portfolios are overexposed to these traditional SaaS companies.
So explain the fear here. Unpack this for us.
Oh.
Why does a better chatbot crash the stock of a multi-billion-dollar legal data company?
It's the death of SaaS narrative taking hold. For the last 15 years, the best business model in tech was software as a service. You pay a subscription for a tool.
You pay Salesforce every month to organize your customer data. You pay Adobe for Photoshop. You pay LegalZoom to help you format a contract.
Right, but if an AI agent can build the tool you need on the fly, or just do the job directly, why do you need the subscription to the software?
If I can just tell Claude, draft a customized NDA for this new client, incorporating the specific terms we discussed and make it compliant with California law, I don't need to go to LegalZoom and pay for a generic template.
Exactly. The moat of traditional software, the user interface, the pre-made templates, the established workflow is evaporating. It's seen as a brittle wrapper around a database.
And the value is shifting to the intelligence layer that can just manipulate the data directly.
Yes. Investors are terrified that these SaaS companies are just wrappers that are about to be discarded. Why pay $100 a month for a seat on a platform when a $5 API call to an agent can do the same job?
It's a fundamental threat to their entire business model.
It is. But it's not like the AI companies have figured it all out either. Let's be fair. Microsoft is really struggling with Copilot.
That's the counterpoint here, isn't it? This transition is not going to be smooth.
Not at all. Microsoft Copilot is struggling. The latest numbers show they've only sold 15 million corporate seats.
Out of a potential 450 million Microsoft 365 commercial seats.
So that's a shockingly low penetration rate. Less than 4%.
And the people who have it aren't using it that much.
That's the even more worrying statistic for Microsoft. Primary usage, people using it daily, dropped from 18.8% to 11.5% in the last quarter. People are trying it and then abandoning it.
Why? What's the problem?
Users find the branding confusing. Is it Bing Chat? Is it Copilot? Is it now part of Windows? Is it integrated into Word, or is it a separate thing?
It feels like Microsoft tried to shove AI into everything too fast, and it became clutter rather than a useful, focused tool.
It shows that just having the AI isn't enough. You need the workflow. You need a clean user experience. But the market is betting that the pure-play agents, like the ones from OpenAI's Frontier and Anthropic's Cowork, will eventually figure out that workflow better than the legacy software giants who are trying to bolt AI onto their old products.
So for investors, the lesson is be very, very careful with traditional software stocks. The ground is shifting under their feet.
The phrase AI disruption is no longer a theoretical thing you hear in a keynote. It is showing up in the P&L statements and the stock tickers right now.
Now, speaking of disruption, let's talk about the culture clash. Because this week wasn't just about money and code. It was about drama, security failures, and huge egos. Segment 5, the Wild West.
Oh, where do we even begin? It was a messy week on the human side of things.
Let's start with the Molt book breach, because this is a perfect and terrifying illustration of that agent future we just talked about.
This is a real cautionary tale. Moltbook billed itself as a social network for AI agents. The idea was that your agent could talk to my agent, they could collaborate, exchange information, make plans.
Sounds efficient. A bit dystopian, but efficient.
But a security researcher found a misconfigured database just wide open to the internet.
Oh, no.
And it exposed 1.5 million API tokens, private messages between agents. And this is the kicker, OpenAI keys in plain text.
Oof. That is Security 101 failure. You never, ever store secrets in plain text.
It's a rookie mistake.
Yeah.
But the twist is even better, or worse, depending on your perspective. Of the 1.5 million agents on the platform, the data showed they were controlled by only 17,000 human accounts.
Wait, do the math for me. That's almost 100 agents per human.
It means most of these agents were just a bot farm. It wasn't a thriving ecosystem of independent intelligences. It was a few people running scripts to simulate activity, probably to make the platform look more popular than it was to attract investors.
So it was a fake social network for fake people, exposing real credit card information and real expensive API keys.
A perfect storm of hype and incompetence.
Yeah.
It's a huge reminder that as we build this new agentic web, we are creating massive new attack vectors. If your agent has your credit card and it joins a shady network like Moltbook, you are vulnerable in a way you never were before.
And while the startups are leaking data, the big dogs are fighting on TV. Did you see the Super Bowl ad spat?
How could you miss it? It was all over my social feed. Sam Altman versus Anthropic, round 1.
So Anthropic runs a Super Bowl ad, and it's a pretty direct mockery of ChatGPT, right?
It was a direct hit. The ad showed a chatbot inserting really awkward product promotions into what was supposed to be a deep personal conversation. It was poking fun at the idea of ad-supported AI and the rumors that OpenAI is going to put ads in ChatGPT.
And Sam Altman did not find it funny.
No,
Yeah.
he did not. He went on X, formerly Twitter, and called Anthropic dishonest and authoritarian.
Strong words.
Very strong. He claimed they only serve the rich because they don't have a free tier, which isn't even true. They do have a free tier. It's just not as prominent as ChatGPT's.
It felt a little thin-skinned, honestly, like the ad hit a nerve.
It absolutely did. It shows the tension. These companies are now fighting for mind share with the general public, not just developers. Anthropic is positioning itself as the ethical, ad-free professional choice and painting OpenAI as the corporate sellout that's going to ruin its product with ads.
And Altman's over-the-top reaction just shows that branding is working. It got under his skin.
It was a very effective ad, clearly.
And amidst all this fighting and drama, someone just quietly spent $70 million on a domain name.
Right. The founder of Crypto.com, Chris Martalik, he bought AI.com.
$70 million for
Yeah.
2 letters and a .com.
It's the largest domain purchase in history. By a lot. He's launching some kind of personal agent platform on it. It's a vanity play, sure, but it just signals how much cash is washing around this sector. The hype is still very, very real.
And finally, a little nugget for the Apple fans out there. CarPlay is getting an update.
Yes, finally. After years of being a lockdown ecosystem, Apple is opening up CarPlay. You will be able to use third-party AI voice apps like ChatGPT or Claude directly in the car.
So I can talk to Claude instead of Siri to get directions or send a message?
Yes, but there's a catch.
There's always a catch with Apple.
There is. You can't replace the Siri wake button on the steering wheel. That still triggers Siri. You have to launch the third-party app from the screen. But once it's open, it can take over the voice interaction.
So it's a half step. But it's an admission that Siri isn't enough anymore, isn't it?
It's a huge admission. And frankly, Apple knows it. We also saw reports this week that they scaled back Project Mulberry, which was supposed to be their AI health coach.
What happened there?
They realized they just can't compete with the data and specialized models from companies like Aura and Whoop purely on software yet. So they're pulling back. It shows that even Apple, with all its resources, is struggling to keep up with the pace of this industry.
So what does this all mean? Let's zoom out for the outro. This has been a whirlwind week.
We are seeing a massive divergence, a great split. That is the theme of the week.
On one side, we have the hardware, the atoms. SpaceX, Amazon, Alphabet, they are pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into physical stuff. Satellites, chips, concrete data centers, power plants.
They are building the body of the beast, an enormous, expensive, power-hungry body.
And on the other side, the software layer, the bits, is crumbling and rebuilding itself in a completely new form. The SaaS market is crashing because agents are promising to do the work dynamically.
The software is becoming fluid. It's no longer a static tool you buy off the shelf. It's an intelligent service you command. It molds itself to your task.
It leaves us with a pretty heavy final thought for everyone listening. If the data centers are moving to space,
To become an orbital brain powered by the sun.
and the agents are replacing the software we use to do our jobs, where does that leave the human in the loop?
That is the trillion-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
We are building an infrastructure that is increasingly automated, increasingly remote, and increasingly expensive to participate in. The human role is shifting from operator of the software to overseer of the agent.
But as we saw with the Moltbook breach and the screen automation risks from Google, we might not be ready to take our hands off the wheel just yet. We might not be very good overseers.
We're not. We're still figuring out how to manage these incredibly powerful, but also very brittle new tools.
Definitely not ready. Keep your hands on the wheel and keep your eyes on the road, folks. It's going to be a wild ride.
Indeed it is.
That's it for this week's AI Unraveled. Thanks for listening, and keep your seatbelts fastened.
See you next week.
That wraps up our briefing for the week. The signal for this week is scale. We are seeing scale in spending, with nearly $500 billion committed to infrastructure. We are seeing scale in models, with 1 million token context windows becoming standard. And we are seeing scale in disruption, as the software market begins to price in the end of the traditional SaaS era. The numbers are getting bigger, and the stakes are getting higher. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Please subscribe and share. Until next week, keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.